So Dharma friends, I advise that in the various countries and places that the more senior disciples help the newer disciples through discussing the Dharma. You have received many Dharma teachings from various lamas, and it's very important to also discuss the meaning of these teachings, because there are some who understand things better than others, and also people have different levels of qualities developed. So in this way we can really help each other, and also we will have an opportunity for you to ask questions, because this kind of exchange is very important. The essence of all practice comes down to bodhicitta, the relative bodhicitta, and then the ultimate bodhicitta. Ultimately, it is in order to realize the all-knowing primordial wisdom. So anyway, such discussion is very important. So discussion is really very important. So if you have some understanding, if you know something, then if you explain that to others, it's extremely beneficial. It's also an incredible merit. For example, if somebody would give you $10,000, you might think that this is a lot of money, but actually it is not, compared to explaining one word of Dharma, because that will benefit others in all future lifetimes, in many future lifetimes, and that merit is never exhausted. So it benefits the one you're telling it to, and it benefits yourself, especially if it is done with a pure intention of love. For example, I myself do not have any good qualities, much learning, but because my Dharma friends, some of them want to listen to what I have to say, I am just trying my best. I'm insisting to teach, even though I might not be able to teach very well. I just try to say it as well as I can, because my Dharma friends want to listen to that. So, and because I love you all very much. So discussion is very important. And then it says, look at the rainbow lights, the light spheres and the smaller spheres of light within the sun rays in the morning and evening, and then mingle these rainbow lights you have seen with your eyes with the practice of the essence of mind itself. And so this relates to the practice of Dzogchen, and I already mentioned that before, how we see those rainbow lights. And so what we realize through those rainbow lights is this union of emptiness and clarity. And so it says in the morning and in the evening, so first very early in the morning when the first sun rays rise, there's an opportunity to practice, because early in the morning the wind energies are pure and the mind is clear. And so at that time one goes and looks toward the sun, but not directly, with kind of half open eyes, slightly closed eyes, but still seeing the sun rays. So you're looking towards those sun rays, and then eventually through habituation, rainbow light spheres appear. And so then when these appear in the sun rays, then one brings them down toward oneself. And so slowly one tries to bring those light spheres toward oneself. And then they appear right before one. So even though the sun is over there, one brings these light spheres that one glimpses and toward oneself. And then that is habituated to over a long period of time. So in the beginning, you meditate, and you, without closing your eyes, you kind of slightly close your eyes and look at the sun rays, and first like a bindu, or like a rainbow light appears. and then it becomes, like, through habituation, then they become smaller spheres of light, and then they become many smaller spheres of light, and so on. But these light spheres, these rainbow lights, where are they? They really are just the projection of one's own mind. So actually it is something that also relates to science. Science also has discovered these rainbow light spheres, and nowadays most people really trust in science. And when we connect that to the nature of the mind, then wisdom can really increase. So that is a very special quality of the Buddha Dharma, that it really corresponds to how things are. And so then when trust arises, then that trust can open your eyes of wisdom. So what's most important is the trusting faith. Some people have more belief in science, and they wonder, like, how it really is in Buddhism. For example, in the old days, there were those communist views that would say that the Dharma or any religion is like a drug or like poison. So when those beings hold views like there is no past and future lives, and there is no karma, and all they can see is just this life. So these individuals are our objects of love and compassion. It is just that they completely lack any wisdom, so they just cannot understand how things actually are, and they're holding such views. And that kind of view is not really grounded in any kind of knowledge. It is just, they say very directly, without that view being based in any kind of reasoning, they just very directly say, oh, religion is like poison, and so on. So this kind of like uninformed view is really, in essence, ignorance. And therefore their mind remains very unclear. And so in any case, then when we look at the rainbow lights, we also do that in the evening. So then when the sun is setting in the evening, then again you're gazing toward the sun rays, and again those light spheres will arise. This practice is related to the Togal, or direct crossing practice of the Dzogchen. There's also many books on that out there that explain that you can read. But just in brief, first you're gazing towards the sun rays, and then you begin to see these rainbow light spheres. And sometimes also then when you close your eyes, these spheres naturally appear in your mind. So then when you habituate to that, basically these rainbow lights and light spheres and so on, they appear when you have habituated to meditation practice. So these are the various qualities that arise from practice. So then when you look at the rainbow lights, it says, then mingle these rainbow lights you have seen with your eyes with the practice of the essence of mind itself. So that is the view. So when those rainbow lights appear, then it is possible that you might become attached to that and think that, oh, there is rainbow lights here. And when you become attached, then you are not abiding in the essence of mind itself. So therefore, when those rainbow lights, these light spheres appear, do not view them as in a dualistic way, as separate from yourself, like outside of your mind, but recognize that they are the manifestations, the light coming from your own mind. So you're seeing your own mind when you see those rainbow lights. And then sometimes they become very large and like the form of a deity, like in a painting. And then within that, then many small spheres of light appear. And then within that, then it is said that there is at the center a very small white window appears. and it is very brilliantly white and small like a mustard seed. And that is the luminosity of the nature of the mind. So within each of these smaller rainbow spheres in 5 colors, within each of them as very small and very brilliantly white bindu appears. And that is a sign of the nature of your mind. It is when consciousness matures into primordial wisdom, then the 5 wisdoms manifest as the 5 colored rainbow lights. And about this I already talked before, that how the appearance of the 5 elements in general are the pure essence of the 5 elements, by nature pure. And so these light spheres of rainbow light appear very distinct, and within them within each of them is a white bindu drop, which is a sign of the afflictive emotions or consciousness having ripened into primordial wisdom, and then the afflictive emotions have ripened into the 5 kinds of wisdom. So the white bindu is a sign of the nature of your mind. It is the natural light of your mind. So it appears slowly once you have habituated to the practice for a while. So then naturally, when you meditate, there are no thoughts in the mind, and so then these light spheres appear. And also what is important is that when they appear, sometimes they might be moving around, but you should not follow them. Don't follow the light spheres as they move around, but continue to remain single pointed. So sometimes the light spheres then also appear when you have your eyes closed. In the beginning, first we practice with slightly open eyes when we gaze toward the sun rays, but then later also through habituation, also when you close your eyes, even then the 5 colored rainbow light spheres will begin to naturally appear, having a very small, very brilliant white bindu at the center of them. And this white bindu again is a sign of the nature of your consciousness. It says then, Samantha Bhadra said that within this practice, all the practices of the 6,400,000 Dzogchen tantras are subsumed. So when this meditation, I'm meditating on the gazing and the light spheres and rainbow lights that appear, is practice that belongs to the Dzogchen, and there are many masters, many lamas out there who possess this practice and lineage, and who also possess love and compassion. So to actually engage in this practice, you should then follow such a master, and it doesn't matter whether that is a lay mantrika or an ordained monk. So there are many who actually have practice in that. This just explains here the root of the practice, and there are many branches to the practice, and many masters who have a direct experience of that, and whose awareness has fully matured. This is just kind of an outline to the practice. So through the practice of focusing on the practicing with the spheres of light, and then gradually then things become more clear. For example, then deities begin to appear within those light spheres and so on. There are many masters, like my root masters, who have gained maturity in this practice, and who have directly seen the face of Samantha Bhadra, and then how these small spheres of light and the deities appear and so on. So that is then a sign of awareness having matured. But now, in order for awareness to mature, how do we need to practice now? And so what we need to do is afflictive emotions have to mature into primordial wisdom. And if you engage in practice, it is actually could be quite easy. So whenever thoughts and afflictive emotions arise, you recognize them with clear awareness. When awareness is clear, then these thoughts will not lead to becoming afflicted feelings. And when that happens, then you have already matured, and this affliction has already matured. Actually, the mind that is free of all thought is actually extremely, inconceivably powerful. So you can see yourself whether or not the mind has become matured by looking at the feelings in your mind and the thoughts when they arise. So sometimes it is the case that even though some people know how to meditate, they still do not ripen or mature because those feelings remain within their mind. And therefore it is essential that we merge the meditation with our daily activities. And we can then see whether or not our mind is mature by how we are dealing with the afflictive emotions when they arise. So first, it is the more subtle afflictions or thoughts that have to mature, and then the more coarse will mature. There's actually many disciples who are practicing, for example, with their companions. When you practice with your companion, then, for example, they practice patience with each other. For example, when one person gets angry, then the other person says, let's not talk right now, because they're trying to practice patience. So if you have practiced, then you will recognize the anger right away with mindfulness. And this mindfulness is actually the ultimate or the inner guru. With mindfulness, you have to first recognize that all these afflictive emotions arising are the cause of suffering. So again and again, you have to reflect on the faults of your afflictive emotions. And if you habituate to that, then later on, immediately, they will not arise. And you will not get angry at the other person. But if you get angry, then you get angry at your own anger because you recognize its fault. So then when you're able to liberate your own anger, then naturally that will also liberate the anger in others. And actually the other person has become very helpful to you, because if you don't have somebody who triggers your anger, then it will remain there in your mind hidden, but it's still there. So all of the afflictive emotions are there hidden, and the more they are brought up, the more we can liberate them through meditation practice. And so a sign of consciousness having ripened or matured into wisdom is that the afflictive emotions mature into primordial wisdom. So you're able to liberate the afflictive emotions. So here I'm just sharing the root of the practice. So kind of a course outline of how we need to engage in practice, which is very important. And then it says, Karma Bakshi said that although Mahamudra and Dzogchen are different in regard to the words they use, they are not distinct with respect to meaning. Karma Bakshi, Rangchun Dorje, Gyava Yungtong, and Karma Barobo Dorje all focus their intent on the union of Mahamudra and Dzogchen. So the union of Mahamudra and Dzogchen, basically it is saying that they are the same. There's no difference between them ultimately. Although for the most part, lamas of the new tantric tradition have expressed doubts about Dzogchen. So some express some doubt about Dzogchen because there are slight differences when it comes to the path. But the path is rich in skillful means, and that require the least difficulties in the secret mantra. So there are many different views in terms of accepting and not accepting the there being no difference between Mahamudra and Dzogchen and so on. But actually, ultimately, there is nothing not to be except that. Milarepa had said that the view must be connected to the scriptural authorities and logical reasoning. So the scriptural authorities are the words of the Buddha, who said that beings possess Buddha nature. He taught the perfection of wisdom. And then logical reasoning it refers to the view of the middle way, the Madhyamaka. In the Sakyapa, it also says, when there is grasping, one doesn't have the actual view. So if one still perceives a duality of self and other, one has not yet reached the ultimate view. So the view must be connected to the scriptures and logic. So regarding the omniscient wisdom of the Buddha, which is the ultimate view, it is said that within the expanse of primordial wisdom, all the Buddhas are one. And so whoever grasps at duality of self and other still does not have the ultimate view. Because on the ultimate view, there is no distinction, there's no duality. So if one still grasps at these practices as being dual, one approaches them from a dualistic perspective, that is a sign of not yet having accomplished the result, the actual result of the authentic view. And so whoever thinks in such a way, therefore has not yet gained the pure view, is holding impure views. So just before, about Milarepa's quote, I didn't mention the beginning of the quote, but it actually possesses great blessings. So I will say the whole quote by Milarepa. And so he said that when a practitioner, although a practitioner, first a practitioner must decide upon the ultimate view of non-duality, so basically through their own experience. So they must ascertain themselves that this is when consciousness has matured into primordial wisdom. So then basically must ascertain the view themselves, but while the view must be ascertained by the practitioner, it also must be connected to the scriptures and logic. And so now the logic we have said is the middle way of the Madhyamaka, and then we have Mahamudra and Dzogchen, two different names. But when we combine them together, Mahamudra speaks about the empty mind that is vast. And Dzogchen says, there is no phenomenon in samsara and nirvana that is not complete within the mind. Therefore, this path is the great path. So actually, they're speaking about the same thing, even though they have different names. Think about the meaning that these names actually represent. So when you think about the meaning of Mahamudra and Dzogchen, then there really is no separation. But once we grasp at the separation, then there is no endless. There's no end to thoughts. Thoughts become endless. So this is the meaning of Milarepa's quote. Also, there are some instructions that Milarepa gave to Gampopa when they met. So among them, there was one where he said, when self-liberation arises from within, then meditation becomes effortless. There's therefore, son, rest within a state of non-conceptuality. So he's saying that when you're free from all grasping thoughts, the mind naturally abides within the space-like state of empty clarity. And there's no grasping whatsoever. When there's no grasping, no thought, then things do not appear as possessing a true existence. So they become empty. But if you analyze this over and over again, then it is like you're drawing an image in your mind. And in this way, you meaninglessly again become confused, and therefore be effortless and self-liberated. You become self-liberated when you liberate naturally, when you rest within the view, when you have determined the view. And then when having determined the view, the mind naturally becomes empty, and then these are qualities that arise from emptiness. So then you can call it Mahamudra, or you can call it Dzogchen, you can call it any name. The ultimate truth remains unchanging. It is that when whatever is empty, because things are empty, anything can arise. So then it is fine to call it Mahamudra, it is fine to call it Dzogchen. They both become the same. But therefore, Milarepa said, son, rest within an ongoing state of non-conceptuality. And this is the perfection of wisdom. Also, Milarepa had said that you have to determine the view within the mind, and you have to merge experience and meditation. So practice has to become an experience, and then the experience has to be brought into one's daily conduct. That's very important. Then have no doubts as to whether or not you're really meditating. When you are liberated from dualistic thinking, then there is no more division. There's no more coming and going in the mind. And so some lamas, it says, of the New Tantric tradition have expressed some doubts. And then it says, so regarding the meaning of the Dzogchen, which is that arisen from space and self-arisen, he is the exalted fire of intelligent primordial awareness. This quote comes from the Manjushri Namasangiti, expressing the names of Manjushri. And this primordial awareness, wisdom, here is that when consciousness has transformed into primordial wisdom, then wisdom becomes strong, like a strong fire. For as long as it is the normal consciousness, wisdom is weak. Because when we grasp at the true substantial existence of appearances and so on, then wisdom becomes weak. When consciousness transforms into primordial wisdom, it becomes great. It becomes Mahamudra. So that is why it is the great seal. Mahamudra means the great seal. Then it says like an exalted fire, like a vast fire. So this awareness is like fire. In Mahamudra, it is also explained that the nature of this primordial wisdom is like an apocalyptic fire, a fire at the end of the world. So one day, the world will come to an end. It will turn into dust. And then there's nothing left there whatsoever. So this is also what is implied here with the apocalyptic fire, that there's nothing left. There's no pure, no impure, there's no grasping. That is the perfection of wisdom. So when you examine the nature of your consciousness again and again, you understand that it is non-dual, and then wisdom becomes great. So then whatever you do in the world or in the Dharma, there will be no grasping at a true existence toward anything. So first of all, you understand that there is no self. And when you realize that, you realize that also others lack inherent existence. But you still see others on the other, but it becomes like an illusion. You see it like an illusion. Nothing truly exists. For example, when you're watching a TV show, no one believes that it's real. Everybody knows that it's not real. So it becomes just like that. But so normally people think that, however, that what we see on TV is not real, but then the real life is real. But it's all like that. It's all like an illusion, all not real. It just appears for as long as karmic imprints appear. And those karmas are just like the oil in a butter lamp. Whenever the oil comes to an end, then the fire will be extinguished and gone. So this is how one then comes to see it. And so when we see the three lower realms, for example, temporarily, but when the causes for the three lower realms of stinginess, of hatred, of ignorance are extinguished, then one becomes liberated from the three lower realms, and then there is still Buddha nature. In brief, this arisen from space and self-arisen and so on is that one does not, it arises this way when one does not engage in dualistic grasping. Then also Jigten Sumgön said in the Sekangma, the Golden Temple, a mountain of views is destroyed by the invincible Vajra that I pay homage to. So the various views of the world and the Dharma, the dualistic views of self and other, all grasping at habitual imprints, karmic imprints, are destroyed by the ultimate view of emptiness. So this invincible, the Vajra. And it is the view of emptiness and compassion. So with that view of emptiness and compassion, all activities of the world and the Dharma, while they appear, are recognized as illusory. One sees them, but one does not believe in their true existence. And actually, seeing things this way leads to an understanding of the subtle workings of karma, cause, and effect. The illusory appearances of sentient beings still then cause one to cultivate love and compassion for them, because they still need to be tamed, benefited. It is because they still grasp at a self, they still are confused, so they still wander in the 6 realms of samsara, and they need our love and compassion. If you have compassion for them, then through compassion, their self-grasping diminishes and they attain enlightenment gradually. It is said that the view is a view of secret mantra. The meditation, the practice, is the practice of the bodhisattvas, and the conduct is in accordance with the pratimoksha, or individual liberation. Or also in the Gongchik, Jigten Sumgön had said that the 3 levels of vows have a single essential point. The view is Mahamudra, the practice are the 6 yogas of Naropa, and the conduct are the 3 vows as a single essence. So they all need to be practiced together. Or on the outer level, externally, there is the pratimoksha. Inside is the conduct of the bodhisattvas, and secretly there is the view of secret mantra. So in this way, one should practice the 3 levels of the path together, simultaneously. And so that is that view which is like the invincible Vajra that destroys or overcomes all other views. So this is the prayer by Jigten Sumgön. And so it says the exalted fire, like the brilliant light. In the Mahamudra, it also says that the darkness of 1,000 aeons is cleared away by a single lamp flame. When the sun rises in the sky, the darkness is instantly dispelled. Or if you understand this one nature, everything is understood. So that corresponds to Logic and Sumgan's quote about this invincible Vajra. So this is the exalted fire, or the kind of a brilliant light. And then it says, of all means of dispelling hindrances, it is the principal one. Think about the uncertainty of the time of death again and again. This is the root of all improvements. Supplicate the Guru with intense devotion. So the means of dispelling hindrances, so temporarily in this world, due to our karmic imprints, we experience suffering. We experience happiness and suffering in samsara, and we are attached to happiness, and we have an aversion against suffering. And we experience various difficulties in our mind. And so the supreme means of dispelling hindrances or obstacles is said to be the Guru Yoga practice. It was also explained by Lopa in his instruction on the three roots of empowerment. And then there was also an instruction by Adur Rinpoche regarding the clearing away of hindrances. I don't know this quote, but the essence is that the means of dispelling hindrances and to overcome hindrances and enhance and improve one's practice is the Guru Yoga practice. So for that, first of all, it is important to remember the suffering nature of samsara. When you realize that, it is that in an instant you can be a Buddha. And when you do not realize that, then you experience suffering. You are bound to experience suffering, although you possess Buddha nature. So, for example, animals and humans coexist. So we can easily understand this point of reflecting on the suffering of samsara when we look at animals, when we think about their suffering. So we think about their suffering and remember the Guru with devotion. So this is most important when it comes to the dispelling of hindrances and the enhancement of one's practice. So, Tashidelek, please go eat and discuss the Dharma with each other, my Dharma friends. And please forgive me if I am not able to explain everything so clearly. There are many things I do not know well, but I am speaking with the purest intention. And because you love me, you like to listen to me. So Tashidelek.